It's Real Talk with David and Nikki. Stay tuned for hot topics, gossip, and a little shade on the 5x5.
And welcome back to the 5x5. I'm your host, David, and I want to thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. We haven't done a show since, I think, before Christmas, I believe. So hopefully we're back on track with getting back to doing what we love to do here on the 5x5. With Real Talk with David and Nikki, the 5x5 late night show. Thank you guys for checking us out, following us. You can always follow this show on iTunes, and you also see us on Spreaker and the Real Talk with David and Nikki on iHeartRadio. So thank you guys. First, let me say I had posted a blog a couple of days ago about how in my real life, my offline life, I love meeting new people. You can ask any of my friends. They're like, David is always talking to someone. He's always trying to, get to know someone. And it annoys some people, but I think that kind of enriches your life when you get to meet new people and you get to, share new experiences. I have a really good friend, and I try to live by that motto. He'll see somebody and he's like, I think I want to get to know them because of something they said or something they're laughing about or even just a simple smile. A couple of weeks ago, I was going online and I'm looking at everything, and I'm a blogger. You can find. I forgot to tell you guys, the 5x5, the Recycle Blog Talk, blogspot.com. That name has changed. Now you have to find us at the 5x5 and the 50 numeric.blogspot.com. That's one announcement I want to make. But anyhow, just meeting people, and so I was scouring the web for different things, and I came across a blog from a writer, and I'm like, wow, who is this person? Because world traveler, he writes novels. It just looked like interesting people. So I'm like, in my mind, that little voice said, I'd like to get to know that person. So hopefully I can mix that part of my my offline experiences with you guys. I can share that with you guys. So today, first off, we have author and writer Alan Chen. He's a writer, of course, and a literary critic. He writes novels, short stories, and screenplays. He's the author of several published novels and 3 unpublished screenplays. You can always visit him on alanchen.net and alanchenwriter.blogspot.com. And Alan, thank you for joining the 5x5 today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, I wanted to meet you because I read, like I just told you a few seconds ago, and on Alan's blog, you guys, you can go to alanchenwriter.blogspot.com and put in your email information, and you can get this wonderful, wonderful free e-story called Hand-Carved Elephants. And I just fell in love with that story. And I know when I really love, even it's a short story, but even, books, when I want to know what happens the next day after the story ends and there's nothing else, I want to know what happens the next day. So, Alan, is there going to be a sequel to that? Because I need more.
Well, excuse me, just today, I finished another one of those monk stories.
Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah. I'm putting together 6 of them. And today I finished the first draft of the 6th one. Hand-Carved Elephants is actually number 3 on the list. And all 6 of them I've already signed the contracts with Bold Strokes Books. They're going to publish it in late 2015 or 2016. And all of those stories are linked with the characters and the themes and all of that. So basically, there is something that happens after Hand-Carved Elephants, and if you buy the book, you'll get to find out exactly what happens.
Well, that's definitely going to be on my Alan Chen book list, because when I tell you, when I first start reading the story, for me, descriptions and the imagery, because I like to read a book that doesn't feel like you're reading. It's like you're watching a movie in your head. And I'm like, this is how this person writes. And it's amazing to me that you write so descriptively, and and it's like everything is to detail, and you can almost smell the water from the character when he jumps into the water and he almost dies. I'm not going to give away too much, but it's so descriptive. How does all that fit inside your head?
I don't think it does fit inside my head. I think what happens is when I sit down to write, I just kind of open myself up, and ideas just start flowing through. And I kind of look at it, and I've talked to many writers who feel the same way, that you just kind of open yourself up to the cosmos. Of course, you've got an idea of the themes you want to use and where you want to go with the story and all of that. But once you open yourself up, it just starts flowing through you, and at that point, it's like it's coming from somewhere else, and you're just taking dictation. Like you're just writing about something that you're watching, almost. Yeah, I mean, you see it, you hear it, you smell, or I smell, the water and the scents in the air and all of that. I mean, it's like I'm experiencing it. I can feel it happening. Now, do you have already, say you have a character, you have this person, this persona, you're like, I want to put him into one of these stories, I want to put him into one of these situations. Is that how some of the process begins? Well, part of it is you start with an idea. You want to convey a theme, an idea. And you come up with a character. You create a character that basically that basically personifies that. And then you take that character, and what I like to do with my characters is I just like to drag them through the mud. I like characters who are at the end of their rope. So you start them off in their daily life, and then you take them to the edge, and then you push them over. And oh, wow. See how they sink or swim. Well, I can tell by you saying I can tell from hand carved elephants. Like this guy was, at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, and he had, because he was going to commit suicide, and he's ready to just end it all until and even still at the end, it was still hard for him. It's like, so I think that the story to me is like nothing in this life comes easy, and so even the easy stuff sometimes is hard. And we have to go through what we have to go through just to get to the next day. Not to the next month, but get to the next day. So, but I thoroughly enjoyed that story, and I can't wait. I'm so happy that you said there's more, because I can't wait. Because I was like, oh my God, this is... The thing that I was trying to convey in that particular story was that the reason he was considering suicide at the beginning, I mean, he was just so wrapped up with himself, all his problems, all his issues. And it wasn't until he let that go and tried to help somebody else out of their mess that things started working out for him, that he got his dignity back, that he got his self-respect back. That's what I was trying to convey with that story. Yeah. Now, do you always, I know the answer to this, but everybody else may not know, you always use a gay character in one of your stories, correct, in some aspect? Yeah, it's not always the lead character. But I always use gay characters, and I use strong, forceful, sometimes gay characters. Just because as a gay man, I think I like to bring that to the page. Exactly, because I am a reader. I used to be a reader. It's like I don't have time to read, but now that I know you're on the map, I'm going to read more. One of my favorite authors is Dean Koontz, and oh, right. Yeah, I love Dean Koontz, but sometimes Dean Koontz just takes it a little bit too far. I'm like, okay, I got it. Like the first book of his, or second book I read, my mother introduced me to Dean Koontz with Hideaway, and I'm like, oh wow, that's good. And then I read Phantoms, and that was one of those books I had to sit down. I'm like, okay, I cannot take much more of this, and I can see with Hand Carved Elephants, the story that I read, I'm like, oh, this is it's hurting. I'm hurting for this person, I'm hurting for him. So I know that's when the story is very, very provocative and very good, and I just absolutely love it. So I can't wait to read more about the characters in that story. And I read on your blog the other day, The Loneliness of Writing, Real or Phantom.
Can you tell me something about that? Because I thought it was very interesting how we just got pretty much talked about it. How people say they are alone in a crowded room.
Well, writing has been called the lonely profession because writers sit in a room alone, and at their typewriters or at their laptops, and they basically wrestle with their imaginations and this free-flowing thing flowing through them. And if there's any other distractions, it pulls them out of that concentration. So they spend 8-10 hours a day. I spend that much time a day alone in my office, and you don't really communicate with other people. So a lot of writers complain about that, but I don't. What I was trying to convey in that article is that when I'm working, when I'm in that office, I don't feel lonely at all. I feel creative. I feel productive. I feel there's all of this stuff going on, and there's this satisfaction, but I never felt lonely, and I don't understand how other writers do. So that's what I was trying to convey there.
Okay, I feel you. And back to what I was saying about gay characters, cause I got distracted by Dean Koontz. When you have a gay character in a story, whether it's the main character or it's a character that's kind of on the outskirts, I think it's important because you don't see that in a lot of today's writing. I know I read a book called The Boys of Summer, and I forget the author, which was kind of a coming-of-age story. It had a gay character that didn't know he was gay, but he really was. And then I've bought short stories before. Then I read the biographies, like the Bob Jackson Parish from the Heart. I read that years ago. But you don't see that in a lot of mainstream novels. So do you think it's to use those strong figures, whether they're the main character or they're a supporting character in your writing?
Well, one of the reasons that I got into writing in the first place was, back in the 80s and 90s, I would read books with gay characters, and they were all kind of wishy-washy characters or drag queens and all of this other stuff. And they weren't I knew a lot of gay people, and none of them were like that. And I just wanted to convey, in writing, in stories, the kind of gay people I know. And who are strong-willed, and they know what they want, and they go after it. And sometimes they fall and they pick themselves up, and they're just normal people. They're not all of this drama and all.
Yeah.
I just wanted to convey that. And since probably 99, the early part of this century, you're seeing more of that from writers.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and I totally agree, because I think your stories, they could be anybody, not necessarily gay. They can be anybody. So I think it just kind of peels back the humanism. Is like, it peels back that gay, that people that label people stick on us, and they're like, it's just a regular person underneath. No matter what the sexual orientation is, or who he's sleeping with, or what he does, or he's wearing high heels and lipstick and he's a boy, it doesn't matter. It's that person. When you peel that back, he's just Joe from down the street.
Yeah, we're just all people, and we've got our strengths and our weaknesses and our fears and our joys.
Yeah, see, and I can appreciate that, but I think sometimes that falls on, people don't really they don't, not that they can't, they don't want to, believe that being gay is just as normal as everything else. They always want to throw that sexual kind of thing to it, and it's taboo and it's wrong. And I tell in my personal life, I tell people, I'm just David. The fact that I'm gay doesn't really matter. And I've had so many people in my life, that straight people that have come to me, it's like, wow, you're just regular. I'm like, yeah, I'm not like, I don't turn to a werewolf at nighttime. Y'all are being silly with all this. And so, and I've gained a lot of respect because I'm David first. Everything else is second, because I'm also an uncle, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a hard worker, it just happens that I'm gay, and it's not that, to me, it's not that big of a deal. Y'all the one that has the issue with it,
And I think really a lot of people, the first thing they do is tend to focus in on what they perceive as differences. They want to, it helps them define themselves to see
exactly.
differences in other people. And I think that's important to people. And what I like to focus on is our commonalities, because 99% of us have those commonalities. It's just that 1 or 2% that's kind of different from this person to that person to that person.
And I think it's just so. I think, like I said, I think people, they know on some level it's not that big of a deal, but to make themselves feel comfortable and kind of fit society's mode, and then that's when they start rejecting the commonalities of each of us. And then so I can put you in this hole, I can put you over here, I can put you in this category, so they can be safe. They can feel safer within themselves, which I think is shallow and cowardice, in my opinion. But moving right along,
I think it's fear. I think it's fear that does that.
Totally, it is. I totally agree. It is fear. It is fear. And thing is, and a lot of people, they don't think they have the capacity. I try to live fearless. There's not too many things that I'm afraid of, and that, whether it's a physical threat or just like a mental threat or a perceived threat, I don't live in fear, because if you live in fear, that's when you start succumbing to people's notions about you, or society wants to put you in a particular category. And I think then that's when you start not being true to yourself. You just start being what somebody else wants you to be. You
nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. Yeah.
But how did Alan Chen? I read your biography. How you said in 2003 you became serious about your writing, because before that you were a data processor and information technology, correct?
Yeah, I managed computer IT groups for Charles Schwab and Company for 16, 18 years, something like that. And I retired from Schwab in 99. I spent 2 years traveling the world, and then when after the trade towers fell, I decided that I might need a new income because my investments went down the toilet. So I started writing as a way to bring in more income. And
have you always been a writer?
Well, I had gotten a master's degree in creative writing back in the early 90s, but I never really did much with it because of my corporate career. I just didn't really have the time to devote to it. But once I retired from Schwab, I had plenty of time.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because myself, and nobody really knows this, I write stories as well. And
cool.
when I finish writing, I'm like, oh, that sounds stupid, so no one would ever see them, because I'm the biggest critic. But I have a problem with Disney. I wrote a story, and it was about a little girl who was in tune with all the insects, and when you put the insects under a magnifying glass, you see they were little people in insect suits living in this separate world. But then Disney did a show. I'm like, y'all stole my idea, so I don't know if I was hacked. I'm just playing. But
it's so creative.
But that's how I feel. Yeah, it's very creative.
So creative.
I think, but I don't. My thing is I get too wordy, and I want to put something in. So much into a story. I wrote a story for when I used to work at another place in Atlanta. I wrote a story about a particular person that worked there, what we thought he was. He ended up being a very decent guy. But I created this character around who I thought he was, and I'm not going to get into that because he may be listening. And it was like a horror story, but it was good. And everybody's like, oh, that's so good. And I'm like, because I had an English professor one time that told me my biggest problem is I write like I talk. She's like, when you separate how you talk from how you write, you'll be a better writer. Do you believe that's true?
I don't believe that's true. I think that every writer should have a distinctive voice, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like your speaking voice, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because she had a problem. She's like, yeah. She said, if you were talking to me, that's how you write. And I think what she was saying to me is, because I use some slang and stuff like that. And you talk, you always use correct grammar or word usage. And she said that's how you write. And I had to go to the writing center, and it was so embarrassing. But I got through the class. But that kind of has stuck with me all these years. And every time I write something, I can hear her saying that to me, and then I think it's no good, and I kind of trash it. Isn't that crazy?
Well, the funny thing is that the reason I went after a writing degree in the first place was because I was a junior manager at Schwab, and after about 6 months, my vice president came to me and he said, I think you're doing a great job, and I'd really like to promote you to a full manager, but I can't because every time you send out an email, your punctuation and your spelling and just the way you put together stuff is so bad that everybody's laughing at you behind your back. Everybody thinks you're an idiot. And so he said, you need to go to night school. And I got into night school, got into a program that and lasted years, but basically I learned how to write. And the funny thing is that I just fell in love with the writing. I just loved creating stories about people, and at that point, I didn't want to be a manager anymore. I wanted to be a writer.
So that was the turning point.
Yeah, it was. It was. At that point, all I wanted to do was retire from Schwab and travel and write. Yep.
And so here in 2014, that's exactly what you're doing, correct? That is. And you're married?
I am married. We've been married since 2008. I've been with Herman for about 20 years now. Awesome.
See, this is like a Wendy Williams moment. I love their love. How she says it all the time. That's really cool. I don't think anybody can stand me for 20 days. I don't. Because I'm such a Virgo, and I have a lot of Virgo ways, and 20 days is about tops for me. No, I'm open
I've never
to
dated
dating.
A Virgo, so I have no idea what that is. But
I don't date no Virgo. You'll be in trouble. But you ain't gonna do it. You won't do it now. But I'm just saying that we're trouble because we're crazy.
I have to believe that there's somebody out there.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Maybe. I read on your blog the other day because was the Golden Globes Sunday night? Was it Sunday?
Oh,
was it Sunday night?
Today? I think it was.
Today's
yes.
Tuesday, and you said that your husband made you watch the Golden Globes, and one of the winners had said he would rather direct movies or TV shows than save lives, and you had a little issue with that.
Well, yeah, he basically said he dropped out of medical school to go to film school, and he said that it was such a great thing for him because winning this award was 10 times better than saving lives. And yeah, I do have a problem with that. I have a problem with society where you believe that winning some kind of trophy or becoming famous is more important than saving, say, a child's life so that child can go on and have a full and productive life after that. I do have an issue with those kind of choices that people make.
Yeah. When I read that, I'm like, wow, that is repugnant that somebody would actually let that come out of their mouth.
Well, I'm sure he was caught up in the moment.
Oh, obviously.
But on the other hand, people are honest when those caught up in the moments happen,
Yeah, because I get that raw, this is what I'm really thinking moment that comes out of them. And also, there's something else on the Golden Globes that I happen to see, and I don't know if you watch Coven or if you've seen Precious, Gabrielle Sidibe, somebody was trying to fat shame her about how she looked on the red carpet, and she said,
I hope she read it.
And so, yeah, she tweeted back. She's like, I'm sure I'll cry about that on my private jet going to my the job of my life, So she kind of took the classy approach, and I actually love her, and again with her, and that's with fat people, because I'm a man of a particular size, as I always say, and our society kind of puts us into a place to where you think you have to defend. I no longer defend being black. I no longer defend being gay in the aspect to where I'm going to yell back or curse back or have an issue with you. You can have that moment of yours where I'm sitting over here being fabulous with all my curves, with my skin color, and being gay, because I love it. You know what I'm saying?
I just can't wait for the day when we just see the inner person. That we finally get past all of that outer stuff, and we just relate inner to inner. I know it's going to happen. It won't happen in my lifetime, but I know it's going to happen someday, and I just can't wait for that to happen. Because people are just, we were saying earlier, people are people. It doesn't matter what the outer shell looks like.
Exactly. I read when I have guests, I stalk them on their blogs and Facebook pages. So as I was stalking you, I read something that I think that the readers need to hear. You say, unless we all begin to practice more humility and compassion, allowing that different doesn't mean inferior, then we will continue to see our young people killing themselves, and we will continue to have the world view us with hatred born out of fear. And I'm like, wow, that is some deep talking right there. And that came from a blog that you share with everybody on America being a bully, and your thoughts about Nelson Mandela and how he saw America.
He didn't have a very good view of America. If you go back and you read his writings, he really had a very dim view of us. And I actually, and from my travels, I've traveled to like 50 different countries outside the United States, and there's a lot of people out there who share that, and I'm one of them. I think we are bullies, and I think we could be doing so much more to bring the world together, as opposed to, with diplomacy, as opposed to trying to use military might to slap everybody into shape, sort of thing, to what we feel our standards should be, I have a huge issue with our government and our whole attitude. I'm talking not just the government, but the whole country attitude of this being bullies and trying to whip everybody into what our perceived right way to be is.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It's a shame. I've always thought we were a bully. I think we always meddle. And I'm for one, I think the world needs to be united on some level, and I think somebody has to be the leader. But I said at the same time, you have to take care of your own backyard. When it's a mess, how can you bring that kind of world togetherness when our own backyard's not even clean yet, if that makes sense?
It absolutely makes perfect sense, yes.
Well, Alan,
we spend so much time looking at everything else and not our own mess, basically. Exactly,
and it is a mess. Well, before we go, Alan, our time is up. 30 minutes is definitely not enough. I could talk to you for hours because you're such an interesting individual. But thank you so much. Anything you want to share with the listeners before we leave?
Oh, wow. Read more. You don't necessarily have to read my books. Just read more. There's a wealth of great stories out there, and they'll tickle you. They'll make you love them. They'll push all your buttons. Read more.
Read more. Well, Alan Chin, it has been a pleasure talking with you today. Everybody, check out Alan Chin's blog at alanchinwriter.blogspot.com, and also check him out on his website at alanchin.net. And next time, we'll have to have you back on because you've traveled to so many places. I want to pick your brain about the best place to go.
Anytime, anywhere.
Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you guys for listening to the 5x5. My name is David, and I think we're going to take off right now. Again, thanks to Alan Chin. Guys, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Check us out on Facebook at The 5x5 or tweet us at The 5x5 or go to Recycle Blog Talk for past shows. Thanks for tuning in.